In Seattle, President Biden will deliver remarks making the case for his bold agenda to tackle the climate crisis. This as gas prices continue to soar, in part due to Russia, but also as Biden tries to wean the U.S. off fossil fuels. It has his administration scrambling to show progress, including the Environmental Protection Agency. And joining us now, EPA Administrator Michael Regan. Thank you so much for joining us. I guess we'll start with gas prices. What is the effort to try and bring those down, along with everything else I just mentioned? It's all connected.
Well, thank you for having me, Mika. And I think the president made it clear that this war on Ukraine would not be a painless one. And we know that people are hurting. They're feeling the pinch of the pump in terms of prices. So, you know, the president has taken action. He has tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, injecting 1 million barrels of oil into the market per day to help bring that price pain down. He also announced last week that the Environmental Protection Agency would issue an emergency waiver to allow for more E15 fuels to be sold during the summer months. We know these aren't silver bullets, but the president is using every tool in his toolbox to, again, relieve that price pressure while we continue to invest in a clean energy economy. I have to say that 80% of the investment in new energy capacity over the past year was in wind, solar, and battery storage. And we have our auto manufacturers announcing that the future is electric vehicles. Had we made these investments sooner, we would not be held hostage to these rising, volatile international prices that we're seeing as a nation.
So in terms of wind, but especially electric, I feel like we have been talking about this for decades. What will it take to actually wean the U.S. off fossil fuels, or at least significantly enough that there isn't a dependence that still exists on Russian fuel?
Well, we have to do two things. The first is we have to respond basically to what industry is asking this administration to do and EPA to do, which is provide clear rules of engagement so that they can make long-term investments in our automobile and our power sector. But the other thing we need, in addition to the president using every tool in his toolbox in our agencies, we need for Congress to pass legislation that gives the proper tax incentives to the clean energy companies, to all companies that are pursuing a more sustainable, clean future. We believe that if we have the rules of the road done in a way, EPA's technology standards will create longer-term investment opportunities, the proper tax incentives, we can win the 21st century. This is really about protecting the planet, protecting public health, but it's also about creating millions of good-paying jobs all across this country and being globally competitive. So the president is having to walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, we are having to rely more on fossil fuels today because of this war in large part, but we're also continuing to put the regulations in place and fighting for those tax incentives so that we can continue to support where the market is already going, which is a clean energy future.
All right. EPA Administrator Michael Regan, thank you so much for being with us on Earth Day. You know, it's so interesting. Earth Day began in the early 1970s. And it seems that a lot of Republicans look at the environment as an issue that is owned by the far left, owned by the squad. My gosh, younger Americans, whether they're Democratic, whether they're independent, whether they're conservative, are so concerned about the environment.
Really
this is going to be an area. This is going to be an area. We saw it on the issue of marriage equality from 2004 to, over the next decade. We saw that move a lot quicker than anybody thought. You're going to see the same thing with the environment because younger Americans are really focused on this. I think there are actually even some Republicans that understand that. So thanks so much to Michael Regan for being here. Let's bring